we'll start with dram number 1, which is Equinox and Solstice Summer Edition. So it's the bottling that just got launched yesterday, I believe, which is our Balblair. So it's a 2008 15-year-old Balblair from 2 first fill bourbon barrels that were mixed together and bottled at this series trademark strength of 48.5%. And so this is really our, I don't like to say, like, I don't know, entry level or cheaper. It's meant to be a series which is very much about drinkability, I suppose, like simple, direct flavors, big flavors, easy, very pleasurable, very quaffable. At the end of the day, I still very firmly believe that whiskey is meant to be pleasurable and meant to be something that you actually can drink and not think too deeply about and just get lost in a little bit. And that is what this series was all about. I came up with the idea for doing this series when I was wandering about the woods by Loch Fyne, near where my family lives, and just thinking, in fact, what I was thinking was, equinox is a nice word. I wonder if I could do something with whiskey in that. And then from there, it all just sort of tumbled out of my brain. So the idea of this series was that we do 4 bottlings each year, aligning with the respective equinox or solstice. And we try to pick whiskies which, fit thematically what you might imagine a summery profile or a wintry profile would be, or the feeling or flavor that might go with that. So first of all, we've been wanting to bottle a Balblair for ages. So when I got the option on 2 2008 barrels, I thought this is just perfect for like sweet, delicious, very fruity, summery dram. And to me, whiskey in summer should also be something that's quite adaptable and light and playful, and it should be something that you could easily make into a highball or put an ice cube in if you're, and these whiskeys are designed to be adaptable to that. Like 48.5% is a really good drinking strength, but it still retains an element of power about it. So, you can put a measure in some ice and soda and you'll still get a good hearty flavor of the whiskey, but it becomes a refreshing long drink, which at this time of year I really like. But on its own, even in a tumbler or in a capita, it works really well as well. So for me, Balblair is absolutely about fruit. It's a fruity whiskey, and I think this is just a really lovely example of that. Like first fill bourbon barrel, you've got that nice sweetness, but it's not straying over into sort of too much assertive wood. It's still quite nice and balanced, and you've got the sweetness of the wood, but you've also got a lot of the natural sweetness of the barley. And that's what I love in whiskey, when you get natural sweetness. So I think this shows that very well, but also with a lot of just like really nice green and orchard fruits. So things like apples, gooseberries, pears, melon, these sorts of characteristics, which I think are real trademarks of Balblair in particular. Their distillery character, shines nicely here. So what do you guys think? Immediate impressions of things?
It's lovely and fruity. It's so clean and fresh. Yeah. It's lovely.
Julia, what's your...
Sorry, I'm muted. I also really like the fruitiness. I feel like it's brought out, especially in this heat.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, it's quite a, I don't know, I don't think you find fruit character, like really overt fruit character in whiskey that much these days. So when you do find it in quite a direct and uncomplicated and in your face way like this, it works very well. We tried this, in fact, I remember we were actually sat in the SMWS when we tried these cask samples, me and Julie were, and trying them at cask strength, they were still really good, but a lot of that fruit flavor wasn't quite as obvious or as expressive. So this is another good example where targeted bottling strengths do really work to bring out often the kind of more fruity, sweet, playful components of a whiskey. And I think that's definitely what's happened here. Like I have no regrets about not doing this as a different bottling or single casks or cask strength, whatever. I think it works so well like this at this strength, and it's so just pleasure whiskey, simple, uncomplicated, very pleasurable, delicious stuff. And I think at the end of the day as well, in this day and age, 15-year-old Balblair under 100 quid just is reasonably good value, I think. So we were quite happy with that. And then so this is a nice counterpart to the spring edition this year, which was a Ben Nevis 10-year-old. So that was again quite different. It was, and it's nice what's happened this year, because we've got the autumn edition is going to be in Aberfeldy, so that'll be the first Aberfeldy we've bottled. It'll be a 2013 10-year-old Aberfeldy from second fill barrels. The Ben Nevis was a refill hogshead. These are first fill barrels. So what tends to emerge as a trend with this series, I found, and it's probably just because it's my taste and it's what I like to find and bottle, is we tend to put out quite naked, distillate-driven examples of these Highland distilleries, Highland makes, because I feel like they're the ones that still deliver quite full-bodied, charismatic whiskies in this day and age, and that's very much what this series is really meant to be about. So the Ben Nevis was like really typical, waxy, quite sort of oily, fatty, grungy, typical Ben Nevis, good hearty West Coast Highland whiskey. And then the Aberfeldy that's coming up is again, it's quite a sort of waxy style, quite Highland style, but a bit more biscuity, a bit more sweet, a bit more slightly sort of chalky and dry flowers character, but it's also really, really nice. So that'll be out in September. And the artist this year is it's a really amazing artist, actually. Her name's Ellis O'Connor, and she's an artist that lives and works on Skye, and she does these really quite dramatic and very atmospheric original artworks that are really inspired by nature and mood and capturing light and weather in really quite idiosyncratic ways. So you can check her out on Instagram. She's done loads of really beautiful artworks, but she's doing all the labels this year, so it'll be interesting to see what she comes up with for autumn and winter. But it's nice, that whole idea of doing a different artist each year, because after a few years of doing this series now, and like this will be the third year with 3 full sets, it really starts to hit home and emphasize what the kind of concept is and what the DNA of the series is about. Yeah, it's well worth. If you're on Skye, go and have a look at her gallery. It's very worthwhile. How are people getting on with this, Balblair? Any questions or comments so far?
Please feel free, if you don't want to speak, that you can put questions into the chat. Sorry, I should have said that at the start, but I've put in some notes as we're going along of the Balblair and a link to it, and Ellis's website as well. Go on and have a look at her pictures. They're absolutely beautiful.
How do you find your artists, Angus, or do they find you? So far, I've found them. I've gone out and initially it was really just friends that I knew who were artists that I approached. Ellis was the first one who's more of a professional artist that I reached out to, and I've got people in mind for future. I tend to try and go for artists that I think have quite an affinity with nature or natural scenes in their work, and will like the concept of equinox and solstice, or will respond well to it or get inspired by it. So that's the sort of thing I suppose I look for, but I don't have, I've only done 3, and I've got someone in mind for next year. I need to approach them actually, but other than that, I don't know. I don't go out looking too much. We do try to do most of our artwork for all of our labels really between sort of 2 or 3 key artists that we work with. Although we're doing so many bottlings these days, and as we do more output, more exclusives, things like that, I'll probably need to start finding a new artist sometime soon. But it's working with artists can be quite a interesting process. So it's important to make sure you find someone that you can get on well with and work well with and align with. So yeah. What else?
We actually saw her creating the image for this one, didn't we?
That was really quite amazing, just how quickly she was sort of drawing the basic foundations of the image together. And it's really nice, I think that people expect with summer that she might have done something, I don't know, greens, yellows, whatever, these sort of more summery colors, but she went with an image that was kind of inspired by summer nights and summer, Scottish summer dusk and sunset, really late in the evening sort of light, and that kind of space melting into blue color scheme that you get up in the far north of Scotland is just it's so beautiful, and I think she's captured that really nicely. Ryan saying something similar. I mean, it is a bit left field, but then I kind of like that, and once you once you know what her kind of inspiration was, it does make sense, I think. And also, actually, it makes even more sense when I think about it, because really drinking whiskey late in the evening is kind of the thing. Sitting up late with a little beach bonfire in summer in Scotland, ideally with about 3 liters of smidge smeared all over your body, then